Okay, we are live. Welcome. Don't even know who's watching, but welcome. Or if you are on the replay, thanks for tuning back in. Um, Hi, I'm Marissa Roxas. I'm one third of the Film Collective, and today is this very special day because this is our first episode of Behind the Scene. It will be a live stream series in which I will talk to another filmmaker, or it'll either be Adrian and Trixie or I, talking to another filmmaker just about their own journey and like their specific focus in the craft of filmmaking. And I'm so happy that I have a very special person to be our very first guest, Alex. Um, yeah, let me edify you a little bit. So Alex, he is. You can correct me later, but as I've known him, he's been a gaffer DP. He actually DP'd my very first film that I wrote and directed. He currently teaches filmmaking to people with disabilities, and he just so happens to be my best friend.
Yay.
So, yeah, Alex, you can introduce yourself, even though I already talked about you.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the spiel, I guess. It feels weird though saying that out loud, where it's like not the best friend part. That's normal, but like the part about um like having like worked on your first film as the DP. It's weird
Yeah.
how how weird that is, because I remember like the first time we looked at the footage and playback, and we were like, wow, like there's like that one shot that looks like a movie, and we're like, what? That was
Yeah,
wild. Like I
I know
still remember
exactly what you're
that.
talking about. It was that
Yeah.
tracking shot in the hallway.
Yeah, with Rosebud, the shoulder rig.
Yeah, we didn't even know what a tracking shot was, but that's what it was.
Yeah, we just wanted that one shot where we walk backwards and we move the camera to the left and they slam against the wall. Like
Yeah.
it
So,
was,
yeah,
yeah.
you mentioned Rosebud. Rosebud was like a very okay, we're on YouTube now, so I'll say crappy rig. It was like a shoulder rig. It was made out of
Mhm.
like what was that, like exercise equipment?
It was like PVC and weights, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
random weights. Yeah,
That was
thanks to Glenn's dad.
yeah. Thanks, shout out to Glenn's dad. He's the real one. Um. So yeah, no, thank you for being here.
Mhm. No, it's cool. It's cool. I've been putting off every other podcast friend like invite, so
Yeah, no,
this is the first time
I
I've
have
done
the
it.
best friend card to play. So
Yeah,
sorry, other people
unfortunately.
with podcasts. Yeah, so I think we'll start off with like I didn't send you these because I wanted you to just say what came to mind. So
Mhm.
just like rapid fire questions. So are you ready for that?
Sure.
Cool. All right. First question is what's your favorite movie?
Ooh, Groundhog Day.
Okay, cool,
Yeah, with Bill
cool.
Murray.
Uh favorite TV show?
Oh shoot, that's a hard one. I had one in my head and I forgot it. I will say Breaking Bad just because it was really influential to me.
Mm,
It's a
mm,
very typical one, but like I really did like fall in love with that around the same time, like when I fell in love with movies and TVs again.
cool. Sweet. Um favorite piece of gear? Like
Gear? Oh,
yeah, yeah, like what is just I know that's like a weird question, but
how pretentious can I be with it?
you can be super I made this question to be pretentious.
um, Diffusion in general.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Honestly,
such a
anything diff.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very much a DP capper, answer. And then so I'm gonna say, what is your dream project? This is like unlimited budget, unlimited resources, like what would you make?
Probably like a TV fantasy series. I always wanted to do that. Yeah, I've never been
Ooh,
able to like put it anywhere, but I've always
mhm,
wanted one since like I was young anyway.
sweet. Cool. Those are all my questions. Rapid fire.
Okay,
Good
cool.
job. Good job.
Hey.
Um, all right. Well, I'll reel it back a little bit. So Alex and I went to film school together. That's where we met, circa 2014.
Mhm.
We've known each other what? Okay, so that's like 8 years now, which is like honestly insane because we've
It feels
seen
longer than
each
that
other.
actually.
Yeah, I feel like I've known you all my life. Um, it's hard to, like, begin where, like, where can we start with film school? I think first things
Mhm,
first, it's like, um, for people who either are, like, in film school now or thinking about it, like, what are your thoughts? Like, w what was your, like, good like, your experience with film school and, like, maybe, like, your greatest takeaways from film school?
mhm. I feel like it was great in the beginning, just because like, everything was so new and you met a lot of people at once and everybody, like, loved film and filmmaking. Everybody just kinda had something new to bring to the table, and it was just kinda cool seeing everybody, and then, like, reality set in where you actually have to do the work. And then you, like, meet each other's, like, disagreements and, like, your workflows and how they differ and everything like that, and just, like, how hard it is. That's one of the things that you kinda learn there, and, like, our film school was very hands-off in the sense that, like, the teachers didn't really, like, actively, like, aid us. They, like, taught us in the classroom, but a lot of the things that we got taught were stuff that we learned on the field more than honestly, than what we learned in the classroom. Um, I think by the end, like, I definitely got disillusioned by it just
Mm,
because, like, there was a lot of productions that I was on that went beyond film school
yeah.
that taught me just significantly more,
Mhm,
but what I liked about it is that it kept me within, like, a network at least. So, like, in the environment that I was in, I didn't have to rely on my own wits as much because everybody was kinda doing their own thing, and luckily everybody was also really ambitious in
yeah.
our years.
Yeah, I think so.
So that really helped. Like, one weekend, we would hear somebody go on a commercial set, and they come back and teach us all these crazy new things, and we're like, "Whoa! Like, when did you have the time to do that?" Because we have, like, to study, like, for everything else, and like, GEs and all that kinda
Yeah,
nonsense.
yeah,
I didn't mind GEs personally. I like that kinda stuff. That's just
yeah.
me. I'm nerdy, but, like, um, when it came to, like, film stuff, yeah, you really learned a lot more just on the field working. Like, I hate to say that because it's so cliche,
Mm,
but, you really do learn a lot more. Some of the theory is great. But I don't remember a lot of the theory. I remember more of, like, the memories and the practical stuff. Like, I remember the
mhm,
people more, which I think was a good, excuse to, like, meet people. Like, film school was a great excuse to meet people and, like, work with people in a way that
yeah,
was very controlled, and
yeah,
we had access to gear, which was great.
yep.
So it was a nice little, like, microcosm, and, I wouldn't change it personally. There are other things around my life that I would have changed personally. Like, you know what happened in certain parts, like, during the end of film school. Like, for me, it was really rough. But,
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
other than that, like, I think film school was fine for me, but towards the end, I kinda just wanted to get out of there because I feel like I we reached a peak at some point, and we couldn't really do much else with it unless we wanted to work in the field more.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of it. Long answer, but
No, 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 we want the long
yeah.
answers. No, I mean, I obviously relate to you. We spent a good amount of time together on sets, you know, in and out of them. And, like, you're right, like, it's one of those things where you look back on it and, like, film school and, like, the set experience that you get, like, obviously, it is probably the most important thing when you're in film school because, like, you get to be there, actually make films, play with the gear. But at the same time, it's harder because we're students. We're not professionals. Like when you get on a professional set, you realize, yeah, it's a well-oiled machine.
Mhm.
Everyone has their role. Everyone knows what they need to be doing. Whereas obviously as students, like we don't know what we're doing. As you said, like there was like a positive and a negative to our professors being so hands off. Positive is that we just purely had to like cut our teeth, but at the same time, it's like, but there's some things that we just truly don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, I mean, I share the same sentiment with you. Like, it's one of those things where it's like I was happy to leave, but at the same time, I miss it every once in a while, and it
Mhm.
was mainly due to the people, and again, it was a microcosm, like, we were innocent, like, there's an innocence to it because obviously we didn't have to think about, being an adult, like a
Yeah.
full-fledged adult yet, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you spoke to like, you know, at the end there it got kind of hard, and I'm speaking more towards like the filmmaking side of it. Like, what would you give? Like, what advice would you give to your younger self? Like, the Alex who you know was just beginning to do cinematography, to do lighting. Like, what would you tell him?
I feel like, just to not take things so personally because it was so
Mhm.
easy to do that back then, where, like, everyone kind of wanted accolades, but we were so unskilled that it didn't really make any sense. And
Mm,
the peak was like making it into the film festival and in film school, and it was a small scene, but like it felt like you kind of made it on top of the world in some cases. Although I never like really went that route anyway. I just kind of like stayed back. But a lot of that was because of that pressure of wanting to like succeed and wanting to be like above everything else. And then you realize there's that like kind of wall that you just naturally hit where you realize that there's just so much more to learn.
yeah.
And at some
Yeah.
point you're like, oh, like why do I even bother?
Mhm.
Is it just me? Like, am I not like smart enough or am I not like talented enough to do this?
Mhm.
Because some people will just like be great when they're 18, and some people don't end up being great until like they're 30. And in
Yeah.
that middle like gray zone, it's like, where am
Yeah.
I?
Yeah.
And it's easy to take that personally, I feel, because you're like what's wrong with me in a way. But it's really not that. It's just that there's just different paths for people, which I feel like I've learned more now. Um, just being in the mid 20s, I still have more to learn, but I feel like that's more of what I've grown, like learning that there's just multiple paths and there's not like one straight line. There's
Mhm.
just a lot of like really weird loopy loops.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, I think looking back, like on our time, and obviously, like I'm speaking like for myself, but obviously, like our friend group, we stuck together for the most part. Like we were kind of like a package deal.
Mhm.
Um, and we did a lot of like, genie work most of the time.
Yeah.
I realized like my time in film school, though I did, get to leave with films with like my name on it, like as a director or like a writer. I
Mhm.
spent most of my time in film school like being like a film worker, as like you would classify them in like, professional world, right? Just
Mhm.
being a grip or PA, whatever else they needed. And that's like probably like my biggest regret of like not like obviously you needed a pitch and like be chosen to make your film, but to at least like be more confident in like even if it was like not a great film, like at least like no, I wanted to direct this, or I wanted to even just like if it's a cinematography piece, like make this.
Mhm.
Like looking back, obviously like I was naive and I was young and I didn't even know what I really wanted to do in terms of filmmaking, and I'm still figuring it out at almost 28. But I realized like there were people who were a little bit more assertive, and those are the people that I realized I
Mhm.
really like admired and honestly sometimes envied, because they were so like assertive in no, I'm gonna make my script. And
Mhm.
it's like it's like why didn't I do that? But at the same
Yeah.
time, as you said, like if you're a transfer, if you're a 18-year-old who kind of just like always knew that they wanted to be a director or whoever,
Mhm.
maybe it was a little bit easier for them to kind of put that foot forward at in your early 20s. So I think that's like my only thing that I look back on it and it's like, oh dang, I wish I would have done more in the sense of not just like you know was like in the background. I'm just thinking of like the Homer Simpson meme. Like
In
I
the
wish I
bush,
didn't
just
have
like
that moment. But
I
again,
could do
like
that with my
that's just like
curtains.
part
Yeah.
of like as you said, like everyone has their own path, and I feel like I'm in the place of like my own like I guess technical journey where I finally
Mhm.
feel like I can be like good. Like I'm not even good yet. I'm just like on the brink of like I could actually be very good. But
Mhm.
it just took a little bit longer, and I mean I've made peace with like that, I think for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard to choose one, but like is there any like do you have like a favorite part or even like a favorite like uh project that you were part of when you were at state?
I talk about this a lot with Glenn, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Glenn
and
is our other friend. He's an
it's
editor. He's a musician. All the things. Very handsome,
talented.
talented.
He's funny too. Just list his dating profile. No, but no, I love the bee documentary that we made together. That Glenn
Ooh.
and I made together with
Oh,
Marguerite.
he's here.
Oh, he's here. Is he here? Oh
Yeah.
wow, wow! I didn't realize he had the link. How did you see that? Anyway, no, but like, I legitimately like I feel like that reinvigorated my love for filmmaking single handedly because we had so much freedom for one just to do whatever we wanted with it,
Mm,
and we learned so much with it. Like I feel like what made me realize like film was important to me was that we got to meet all these different people and like do all these like cool like different things and still just like record it so we had like a memory of it almost.
Yeah.
I think that's what really like sparked like filmmaking for me originally anyway. Like I love the aspect of just recording things
Mhm.
and doing like that bee documentary where we had to like dip into so many different parts of like that life where it's about beekeepers and like bee science and then um like the effect that the environment and like what we do in the US has on like bees. I guess around the world technically, but like it was specifically about the US and like local bees too and everything like that. But we learned like so much and I remember that much more vividly than like almost any other production. And maybe it's because it's the only like main like big doc that I did in film school.
Mm.
But it was also basically just like a ragtag bunch of like three of us and we just kind of had to make it work.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's like we said like nobody really had like the time or the effort to like help us. Like none of the staff really helped us. Maybe they pumped like jumped in every once in a while, and then Freeman said something snarky in class and like made us fix it. Or we just didn't do it. We're just like screw it. Like we're just gonna do it the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like because we had so much freedom in that specific project, it just made me realize we're actually pretty good. Like we're not like perfect, obviously, but we can put a competent piece together if we really just like did it, and not like worry about if we were like specifically good enough, whatever that means, like
Yeah.
whatever that idea of like good is, like it's not that, we're like good enough to do something with it. So
It
just
felt
like,
like it just like it's an achievement when it feels like something.
mhm.
Like, I don't know how to explain it, like, you just have to watch something and like, "Oh, no, that feels like" it doesn't feel like amateur anymore, or at least
Yeah,
it's in
yeah,
the streak of, like, pro. I know what you mean by that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's funny, like, it's
yeah,
funny that you bring up, like, the documentary because I feel like, nowadays, that's kinda, like, where you and I are, like, more drawn to. Obviously, like, we love our narratives, but, like, you and I obviously have talked, we both just dropped $400 on a documentary course.
yeah.
So, like, no, it's funny that, like, that is the way that it is because looking back on my time, like, I actually just really dreaded 540, dreaded documentary because 'cause I'm like, "I don't
Oh,
know what I'm
I didn't
doing."
know that
And, like,
actually. I thought,
I was just like
okay.
I honestly was, like, stuck being the editor, and
Wait,
which
did you do
back then
540? I actually forgot. You did 540?
yeah, I did 540, and I don't know, it just, like, wasn't a good time, and also, I mean, my last semester was kinda hard for me, but
Mhm.
yeah, like, looking back on it, I'm like, "Dang, if I would've taken it now, I would've loved that class." Just 'cause,
Yeah.
like, I like docs now, and I feel like that's kinda more of the pathway I'm going.
Mhm.
Yeah, looking back on it, I mean, yeah, we they kinda just, like, make a doc, and then
Yeah.
Freeman was like, "No, that doc sucks. Don't make
Yeah.
that." And it's like, "Oh, you're not even gonna, like, help me make it better?"
Yeah.
No. Uh, that's super funny, and, like, I think, yeah, docs kind of, like, by its nature, it needs to be a skeleton crew, and I think that's also, like, we have affinity towards just smaller crews,
Mhm.
just because for one, it's, like, easier in the fact that, like, you don't have to, navigate so many personalities, I choose a better word, and 2,
Yeah.
it's, like, you get to do more, you get to be more involved, and I think
Yeah.
I like that as well.
Yeah, I like the fact that yeah, for like docs specifically, because it leans towards smaller crews, you just kind of have to have that to have the people trust you more in a way.
Mhm.
You get to kind of trust the other people as well because they kind of have to lead you along the path. Like you're not there to make your movie. You're kind of there to like make the movie that it kind of wants to be. And I think that kind
Yeah.
of teaches you a little bit how like those stories form. Because I think one issue that I always had with like that kind of idea of like good is that it was always the idea of like what was like marketable or like what was
Mm,
like perceived as like intelligent or like what is like interesting or exciting filmmaking.
yeah.
But it's like a lot of that is just birth from the story. And I think because we had to just go with it, like we couldn't retake it, right? Like there's this one moment where we were being led by this beekeeper and he was like actually he was doing on his like an Instagram like reel or or story or something like that. I think that's when stories just came out like pretty recently or something like that.
Wow.
Um and he's like an older guy, so it was like really goofy and he's really like deadpan most of the time, but he went like to like like I'm a happy teacher mode. Um and he was like talking about how we were doing a documentary about him and like everybody else about in the B community, and he literally just like falls over on like the Instagram like video,
No.
and I think I caught it. I don't know if I actually caught it. I forgot. I think I have it on video somewhere. But it's like I can't make him do that again. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
can you like
Like, can you
can we
do that? Like, yeah, can you fall over
yeah, can we
during
go
the
back to
documentary?
ones? Like, yeah, like it's just mark that as your two. I'll get focused real quick. Let's reset. We can't do that. And I
Yeah,
think like getting those little things, one, it makes it more like feel more human. Like Glenn and I have talked about that a lot, where it's like it just feels a lot more human because it naturally kind of is when you have to make it more about like the people in it.
yeah.
Um, but I guess because of that, it just makes you feel more connected because I realized that when I did narratives, I didn't necessarily struggle with like making things feel human. I think that was always a
Mhm.
strength that I had when I was writing. I didn't know the
Yeah.
middle parts, but I was always like decent at like making emotional resonance happen, but I didn't know how to make that gap like fit in the middle.
Mm, mhm.
But with documentary, it's like you get to just talk to people and like
Yeah,
have conversations with people, and then you kind of get to unveil sides of them that maybe they knew they had to, but didn't know how to express it in a safe way.
yeah.
And yeah, there's like a unique amount of trust that you get from being somebody who has to tell their story and like trusting yourself to be the one to be able to do that properly and like
Mhm.
ethically and like not sensationalizing it too much.
Yeah.
Um, but I think all that, yeah, this makes me really love documentary nowadays because
Mhm.
I thought they were all boring nature stuff before, and it's just like, I can do
History.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a frog somewhere. Frogs are cool, but like I don't want to watch
Yeah,
a frog for
yeah.
5 years. But yeah, doing that documentary just like really made me appreciate like filmmaking and like what it could do again.
Yeah.
And it's not manufactured. I mean, it kind of is
Mhm.
because you have to edit it, but like for the
Yeah, of
most
course,
part,
like, it is there's gonna be some of your, like, creative, vision put onto it. But,
mhm,
yeah, I think that's also what I like about documentary, like, as you're saying, like, you are just really just talking to your characters, and, like, I think, with a narrative, with a scripted piece, right, you're
mhm,
trying to basically emulate, like, again, the human condition or
mhm.
um empathy, whereas with a documentary, like, the empathy is happening, of course, if you are a good director, if you are
Yeah.
good at actually talking to that person and making them feel
Mhm,
comfortable. And what I found, like, I'm shooting a documentary right now, and I'm just like a camera operator, but like for me to like point like a camera at someone in their home and they've never really been on camera, like that is part of the work is making sure that they feel comfortable with
mhm,
you. And like sometimes that means just like putting the camera down, like as much as like yes, documentaries, like, you wanna keep rolling as much as you can,
mhm.
but if you don't have, like, that rapport with your subject, with your character, it's hard for those scenes, those real scenes to play out because 'cause they're gonna feel, like, inhibited, um,
Mhm.
in front of it. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very interesting thing, and, I wouldn't say I know my, like, philosophy as a filmmaker, like, I can't sum it up into um, you know, a succinct sentence or two, but like I definitely am more of the type of like I want you to feel as comfortable as you can to the point where this camera almost feels like it's not here. But of course, always recognizing that having a camera in the room is always going to change the energy, like
Yeah.
even slightly.
Yeah.
Like just being aware of that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw like a weird comment, and I think Jess, your Jess is here. Hi, Jess. And then someone
I
else that can't they said "vum" today. I don't
yeah,
know
I saw that
what
earlier too.
that means. Uh, alright, well, like, I mean, I'm sure we'll come back to film school naturally, but, like, what are you doing now? What
Um, Ironically, I am doing film school just on the opposite side.
Yeah, how's that? How's that been?
It's been good. It's mostly been online, which kinda sucks, but what I've been learning from that is that there is a good way to do film school, because I'm taking all of what I wanted to learn, and I've been like, "Nope, like, I'm not making those mistakes again?" Like, I wanna be involved, I wanna make people do what they wanna do. I wanna give them real advice. It's like it's if they wanna be filmmakers and, like, let's let them be filmmakers, but we gotta also, like, figure out how to ease them in, and then also figure out ways to make it be realistic in the end. Because I think one issue that I had as a filmmaker too, like starting off, was I had so many lofty goals because we were like, I want to be like the next like Breaking Bad. I want to do like the next like Hannibal when it was out. You know, like I really wanted to do that kind of stuff. I wanted to make these grandiose like TV shows, and it's like with a budget of like what, like $15 an hour. You know, it's like that's not possible. I mean, it could
Yeah.
be, but like maybe with our like what we had, like no. And it just made me want to like not do it because then I couldn't live up to those dreams. But I think what I'm making sure of now is just making sure that people just like make the things they want to make and the way that they can right now. And even if it's not perfect, it's always that stepping stone, you know? It's like if it's not like a movie, do a scene from the movie. If it's not a
Mhm.
scene, then at least practice the blocking or like get some people
Mhm.
to like do it with you or practice something other like some other element with it.
Mhm.
Make it into an audio drama if you want. Just record it, you know, or like
Yeah.
do it, make a short story version of it. Like something about it, like storytelling is storytelling, I guess,
Yeah, for
regardless of the
sure.
medium,
For
and it can give
sure.
you more insight. So I don't know, like I think that thing earlier where you mentioned about how like documentary kind of like opens up more ways for you to like kind of take those other roles that normally would be occupied in a bigger production. It's almost that
Mhm.
same way with like storytelling, I guess, is that like you can expand on it still and you can do those other things, but if you want to be a filmmaker, you can still incorporate that stuff and not have to worry about it and not feel like you're like not filmmaking, which I think was an issue that I had in the past with myself, is that I would be like, if I'm not filmmaking, I'm not growing.
Mm.
You know, if
Mm.
I'm not filmmaking, if I'm not on set, then I'm not doing anything like worthwhile, and then I just feel bad. And then when I get on set and it's meaningless to me, like I just
Yeah.
like I'm like, well, why am I here then?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like setting up lights for like the 50th time like this week. And it's not like a bad thing always, but it's like sometimes I hit those like moments where I'm like, I really like this is not what I want to do. You know, I want to like make stories happen, not make light setups happen all the time. Although they interact, right? Like you gotta like make the light setup match like the
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
But
but,
like,
like, that's just one facet of
yeah.
the whole process is the lighting. Like, obviously, lighting is very
Mhm.
important, but, like, the lights alone don't make the film. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like so, like, I guess how have you, like, what have you implemented, like, in your teaching that that you wish, like, we had, back at San Diego State?
Um, a lot of projects that felt feasible and also what they wanted to do. Like I've been making it really active that I will guide them through their projects. And then
Yeah,
luckily I only have like 8 students at a time to like take care of. Whereas like in like SDSU, there was just like a weird rotation of like like
yeah.
suddenly like you have like first year, you know, it's weird. It's like complicated. So I get that. But luckily I have the ability, like, because of the way we're structured, to just focus on like 8 students. And some of them are like they take my class again. And I get to see them grow and develop, and we can kind of establish like a longer rapport, and I get to know their ins and outs and their strengths, and they get to roast me when they know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing sometimes, just because they know me more. After
Yeah,
like two
yeah.
years, it's kind of hard not to like know. But I've been trying to be more hands on in their guidance because I want to make sure they get the process. Because if you don't like understand why you're doing certain things and you're like, why do I need to do this anyway?
Yeah.
And sometimes that means throwing them into the trenches and just making them do it because they need to
Mhm.
realize like, yeah, you do need this because of these issues that come up if you don't do it.
Yeah.
um and then sometimes it's like actively making it structured, so it's like we do this and then we do this and then we do this and then we can start doing this kind of thing. But
Yeah.
then that could also like suck away some of the freedom you get, and also prepares you improperly sometimes, because like if you overplan, then it's like you're not actually making the film, you're just making the film you have in your head, if that makes any sense, and then you like get stuck and panic a little bit when you're like your plan doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but just guiding them through that and like letting them know that like, all those things are normal, and it's like it's okay. Like you don't, just because you panic once doesn't mean you're not a bad director, you know, or
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not a
Yeah.
good director. Just because like you drop a C-stand once doesn't mean you're going to be blacklisted from every other production.
Right. Right.
So
Like, the only way you're gonna get blacklisted is if you're a jerk and no one likes to work with you.
yeah, that phrase that we heard a lot, it's like, yeah, they're a great director, but I never want to work with them ever again.
Yeah.
I feel like we heard that with like usually the same certain people, but it's like we heard that so many times, I feel.
Yeah, but it's, like, a real thing, and also just, like, I think across the board with, like, any kind of work environment, it's just, like, if I'm gonna spend 8 plus hours with you, It's not like we have to be best friends, but, like,
Mhm.
it's important that, like, we can have a good time, right? Not
Yeah,
have, like
yeah.
yeah.
Especially when you're a filmmaker, like, at a certain point, and we joked about this a lot in film school, like, all of us did, it's like, "Yeah, like, have you seen the latest da 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 movie?" And we're like, "Sorry, I just make films now, I can't watch them because I don't have time."
Yeah.
Um, because, like, for every what, like, every, like, couple of minutes, you're there for, like, a couple of days, it's, like, ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, that's one thing that I think helps is that just remembering that when you're working on set with people, it's like they're gonna remember the production itself probably more than the final film because a lot of times you don't see it, you know, like they get into festivals and they're not circuited to you. You don't even get it for your reel if you don't
Oh,
contact with them
yeah.
right away.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and then it's like if I'm spending sometimes like 12 hours, 14 hours per day with the same group of people for like a week straight, like I'm gonna remember that more than I'm gonna
Mhm.
remember like the final shots that I did. Like I don't remember the shots, but I remember the feelings that I had during those like 10 to 12 hours at a time. So, like, yeah, like that human aspect of like, hey, like treat your crew well, treat your people well, treat your cast well, like treat them with
Mhm.
just like decency kind of thing
Yep.
really goes far and not treating them like they're like cattle. Cause like some people can do that by accident, not because like they're bad people, but just because like,
It's just 'cause, like, they're so like, it's almost like a tunnel vision. Like, of course,
yeah,
it's important to get the shots, get the day done, but, like, if you're not taking care of, like, your crew, it's yeah, it's not a good thing.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and we've talked about this so many times, but I agree, like, all of the my best memories from film school were on set, and as we said, like, there's so many films that I worked on, never saw them, don't
Yeah,
know what
right.
happened, and, like, this time, I mean, I hope they did well and the
Mhm.
director, whoever, like, they did what they wanted with it, but, like, yeah, I mostly remember being on set, and, like, it was fun to work with. Obviously, we had, our friend group, but it was I think the thing about set, as you said, you're there for, 8 to 12 hours, sometimes more than that.
Yeah.
And obviously, you see people in action and, like, do their thing, but you also see sides of people that you normally wouldn't get to see. It's kinda
Mhm.
like living with somebody,
Yeah.
honestly, because like, you
Yeah.
see them tired, you see them get kind of, like, cranky.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's just, like it's hard not to, like, grow some sort of friendship or closeness to that person, and, like,
Mhm.
now you have, like, inside jokes from that set that no
Yeah.
one else would ever like, there's some things where it's just like you just had to be there, you just had to be on the set.
Literally, yeah. It's all the build
Yeah.
up that went into it, and all the, like, the nonsense that happens afterwards. Like, I remember
Yeah.
that one time when, I think it was, like, Sass was helping out in a scene recreation for Big Lebowski,
Yeah.
and I think you were the AD, and you had to pull everybody aside because the director was not doing their job properly,
Yeah.
and, like, you had to dance around that weird political mess, but the director just kept blaming the gaffer who was, like,
Yeah.
it was one of our
Yeah.
friends.
No, I mean, of course I remember that. I said and then,
Yeah.
like, you just saying that and, like, even just, like, me explaining, like, how I felt, like, I have so many memories, like, coming back to me, but yeah, that memory is very vivid. I remember being in the hall next
Yeah.
to Susie and be like, "Hey, yo, like, I need you to just sit in the green room and let your lighting team do their thing because you're
Yeah.
just slowing everyone down." And, like, I hate to do that, but that's just goes back to, like,
Mhm.
as I said, like, you're a student and you're working with other students, and it's just like we're not at professional level yet.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like, oh dang, yeah, I have to navigate this because otherwise we're not gonna get the project done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and uh, you asked me. I mean, I know it was a joke, but like you asked me to AD the other day, and I was like, I
Yeah.
retired because that is stressful.
ADing is
I
so
can't believe
stressful.
that at one point
Yeah.
in time that's what I want to do. I still respect it by all
Mhm.
means. I respect the role, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to set up lights, or I want to sit by camera, press record, and be good to go.
Call camera speeding every now and then, and you're fine.
Yeah. But we respect assistant directors out there because that's a hard job. But at the
Yeah.
same time, too, I think assistant directing isn't always a nightmare. When you're
Mhm.
with a crew that you have a like just good relationship all around, it's easy
Mhm.
because you don't have to be on people
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Like, okay, so like, if you were to give like, because I still struggle with this too.
Mhm.
Like, how do you keep up with like your own like filmmaking chops, like practicing that. And, even if you're not doing it right now, like what do you feel like you aspire to, in terms of practicing?
Mhm. That's a good question because I do generally struggle with that too because just because COVID hit and I kind of like ran out of ideas because I was very like I'm a very on location person. Um,
Mhm.
I just feel very confined when I'm stuck to one place.
Yeah.
That's just I don't know. That's how my brain works sometimes, and like I can only do so much for me for myself. Like I know there's ways to go about it and like just practice like doing commercials and like kind of like microcosm it, put it like in a white box background kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, But I love, like, making scripts about it, like, just outlining stuff, outlining concepts, kinda, like, building ideas, generally speaking, first, and if it doesn't happen, then it's okay, like, just, it's the storytelling part that intrigues me more than, like, the visuals as, like, a DP.
Yeah.
Um, when I film, I go story first, and I get influence from there, and I honestly struggle with the pure aesthetic by itself.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing if I'm just doing pure aesthetic, honestly, because I don't have a general aesthetic, I just do it from the story
That
personally.
yeah, that's so
So
funny because I feel like I'm in a mode where I am focusing on aesthetics more.
mhm,
And I think maybe it is just because, like, I am going more of, like, the cinematography. Obviously, story is important, I'm not saying that, but I
mhm.
think I'm trying to find because I'm trying to build up my portfolio, so it's just, like, honestly, when you're trying to just, like, DP or do cinematography, most people are just gonna see if you can, like, light things well or frame
Yeah.
things well. So, like, that I think that's why the mode I'm in. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's, like, it's hard to create if you're confined to one space, and also it's like you have a full-time job, um and it really is just like dedicating yourself to, like, whether it's like a passion, a very small passion project, or even just like if you
Mhm.
want to shoot a spec, but even then, like, knowing that that's going to be on your own time and your own
Yeah.
dime, like,
Yeah.
it's hard. So yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I do YouTube, but I have been thinking of like actual like things I could actually add to my portfolio that I would be able to share with like a client,
Mhm.
as opposed to just like purely creating for myself. That's just like part of the game, but I'm still
Yeah.
figuring it out.
It's a hard balance because every time I feel like I should be adding to my portfolio, I end up not actually doing
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
just end up doing other things that don't directly, like, accelerate my cinematography side of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And also, I guess maybe it's just I'm biased because 'cause I'm a teacher in a way, but it's like, I guess my way of adding to, like, my mental portfolio has been, like, just helping someone else develop their own portfolio. And it's weird because I typically can't add that because at some point I gotta let it go, right? Like it's their project. Like I can't just
Yeah.
be like, I was the director because I helped them develop the beginning. It doesn't work like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can maybe give them like a lookbook example of stuff and like give them references, but sometimes I'm not the one who shoots it finally.
Mhm.
But it kind of helps me realize like where I'm at without having to fully realize where like my inconsistencies are. It's like it's an up and down because like I'm inconsistent in certain cases, but like where I'm good at, I can give ideas. Like I feel like that's a lot of where my strengths lie. Like I can come up with a lot of good ideas, but performing it like just hasn't been available to me lately.
Yeah.
So that keeps my brain a little fresh because at least I know I can generally apply certain things and eventually it comes back. Like I feel like every person that I've helped has helped me at some point later on, whether or not I expect it or not.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
And so it keeps me a little bit green. That's how I kept up with it when I was gaffing more, I think, too, where my way of building my mental portfolio of sorts of like just my skill set
Yeah.
was just being on as many sets as possible, regardless if it was like conducive to me being a DP or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it just made me like keep that fresh and I got to like look out for people. And I think that's kind of where a lot of that framework came from. Just like being able to look out for people. That was more important to me in the long run. So yeah, like, it's weird because I know we're creatives and stuff like that. As much as I say like I don't like using the word creatives, um, it's just so vague that I don't find it as applicable to myself because it's like I honestly don't know what that means sometimes. But
There's so many words to describe people who make stuff nowadays. So
Yeah.
I got what you mean. No, like, yeah, it's a strange thing. I'm like in a similar boat. Obviously, I'm not teaching people, but like I've
Mhm.
made a ton of videos in terms of, you know, as a professional now, but like I was at a corporate videography job. Most of that
Mhm.
stuff either I can't legally use in my portfolio or it's not what I would want to represent myself now.
Mhm. Yeah.
'Cause I'm really trying to be more of a, like, documentary filmmaker, DP, like, that's what I wanna do, and, like, at this moment in time, I haven't made much in those roles, so it's a matter of,
Mhm.
like, getting that to happen, and, yeah, just kinda, like, being real and, like, it has to be on a smaller scope, but even if it is a smaller scope, you can still make something, like, again, that you'd be proud to show somebody and be like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can write. Yeah, I can tell a story."
Yeah.
Um,
It's a little
mhm.
cheesy, but I've been running with the mantra of, like, instead of fake it till you make it, just keep making it until you make it.
Yeah, exactly,
Because at least
exactly.
gets me doing stuff, you know? Like, I don't have to
Yeah,
pretend that I'm good. I just keep making stuff until it eventually, like, works out,
yeah.
for better or for worse, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, like, kind of where I'm at too, where it's just like I mean, I don't know if we've had this conversation where it's like, I'm not trying to go to LA.
Mhm.
I'm more happy with, like, just staying here or, wherever life takes me, and as long as I get to make videos, make films, whatever you wanna call it,
Mhm.
and I'd be happy and obviously be able to make a living, even if it's not like I mean, my goal is for it to be a full-time thing.
Yeah.
Um, like, do you share that sentiment?
Basically, yeah, we're hermits now. But as long as we're doing what we're doing, we're fine. No, but, yeah, I feel that way because I think when I was more in the film scene and in the sense that, like, I was on set, like, every week, every weekend kinda thing, it was great because you got to experience the world in a way that you just never did before, but at some point, it just gets draining. It's like,
Mm,
"What am I doing this for? Like, why am I
mm,
here?" Like, I don't even
yeah,
like the people on set sometimes, and it's like, "What am I doing?" Or, like, I know
mm,
nobody, and it's
yeah,
like and it's just it's weird, and, like, the pay is either, like, non-existent or, like, not worth it sometimes for the
yeah, yeah,
experience, and it's like, what do I wanna make films for? Like, that's kind of
mm,
where I ended up. It's like, I'm still figuring that out, but it's like, what am I making films for, and, like, who am I making it for? Is it, like, because I want accolades, or am I trying to,
mm.
like, tell a story that's meaningful in a way? But then sometimes that also becomes like, "Oh, like, I just wanna tell meaningful stories so people like me," you know? But it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's a weird catch-22. But,
yeah,
it's like, it makes me realize that, like, I want more from life
mm,
than what I wanna work for,
yeah,
and that means, like, family and, like, friends and all that kinda stuff,
yeah,
we talk about it all the time. Um, but it's like if I didn't have filmmaking, I would still have, like, my friends and family. Like, I matter more in that realm than I do in filmmaking, and filmmaking,
yeah,
like, just adds more venues for me to, like, meet people, in my opinion. I think that's where I
yeah,
ended up going forward with it, I mean. And if it wasn't filmmaking, it probably would've been something else. I don't think filmmaking as, like, a career was what I wanted initially when I think
mm,
about it.
mm,
I think it was more the connection of being able to relate to people, and
yeah,
that's something that filmmaking uniquely has. Like, I mean, it has a unique version of it amongst other mediums. You get
yeah,
to, like, see things, you get to, like, hear things and, like, experience it with other people at the same time and the same rate. It's, like, crazy,
mhm,
and you get to talk about it a week later and be like, "Did you watch the last episode of Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, "I never watched a
yeah,
single episode," "Sorry."
yeah, yeah,
There's, like, something about it that, like, makes people feel, like, united and connected in a way, whether or not they agree or not, and it's amazing in a way, and I think that's what I want out of it. Like, I want that connection, and that's what matters to me more than just the pure, like, get good at
yeah.
the craft kinda
Get
thing.
good, get money,
Mhm.
get famous,
Yeah.
like,
It's like,
yeah.
why though? Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I mean, I resonate with you, like, I'm just gonna repeat it for
Mhm,
the people who are watching, but, like, we've talked about this subject many times, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I made the choice to, stay in San Diego or, like, not make LA, like, an end all be all or even, like, really a goal at this point
mhm,
because lifestyle is more important to me than just my career because my lifestyle includes my family, my friends, my relationships. and then it's my career, and as much as I love filmmaking, then like in this sense you do have to be a little like obsessive over it because it's a very involved
Mhm.
craft, to think about. But yeah, like there's a way, and also like obviously there's always like the how are you gonna make a living in doing that? But I think we've both found our own ways, and of course it's like it can evolve and it can change, and like, thankfully with like the internet, it's easier, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I think about us on like again, like our petition films and even just like our actual like thesis films and knowing all the cameras that are, like, out now and, like, the lights, like, the fact that we can go just
Yeah.
buy, like, a $200 light and, like, it does, pretty well, we can do a lot of things with it,
Yeah, you won't
is
blow a
insane to
circuit
me.
either, you know?
Yeah, we don't have to burn ourselves on Mole Richardson's, like,
I
it's
know, right?
kinda crazy.
So many gloves have been saved because I have an LED now.
Yeah, like, it's like, what even are hot gloves? Like, what even is
Yeah.
that?
What
Or
is a
I
hot
saw
hand?
this one picture of me, like, holding, like, a scrim, and I'm like, "What even is that?" Like,
Yeah, trying to, like,
yeah.
invert the clothes,
Yeah,
the
it's not a
C-47 just to make it
C-47
work,
with a
yeah.
C-74. Yeah, so
I hated those things because, like, they were great when we first found it out, but I could not get, like, the scrim half the time because they just don't grip enough. It's just like it just plops back in, you're like, "I
it's,
should've
like,
just gotten
only
a
works, like,
multi-tool."
50% of the time, 50%
Yeah.
effective. Yeah, yeah, for
It's
sure.
enough to feel cool though, like, you're like, "Oh, like, show the new freshman, like, how to how to flip over the C-47."
Yeah, oh my god, that's so funny, like, I like earlier you said, like, no one cares if you, drop a C-stand or, whatever, and I remember when I was, like, showing freshmen, like, people in, like, film society, like, on set, like, I invited them to set, their very first set, and I totally forgot to lock one of the arm like, the
No.
knuckles on
Yeah,
the
no.
C-stand, and I literally almost impaled a girl, and I was like, my career is over." I was trying to look like, cool, like professional, like, wow, she
Yeah.
knows her way around set,
Yeah,
and that
just try to play it
happened.
off, play it cool.
Yeah, and then, like, luckily she was very nice, but, like, I was
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
"That's so embarrassing."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is what it is, though. At least it didn't hurt anybody,
yeah.
But, like, yeah,
If
it
it hurt her,
happened.
that would
Yeah.
just, like I would have just quit filmmaking that
Yeah.
day.
It's a whole 'nother thing when that happens.
Uh, okay. I think we covered most of my questions, but I guess, I mean, we keep talking about like, what we'd want to make. I think like, okay, I already asked you about your dream project, and even if you don't have anything like in the queue, but like, what's like a passion project you hope to complete in like the next year to 3 years? Let's give it like that time.
I thought about that, and it's weird because I feel like my brain hasn't been super centered around, the actual filmmaking part
Yeah,
and more about there's a story that I have that I've been wanting to do for, like, forever, and it's, like, a short film about, like, um one woman who becomes disabled and kind of has to come to terms with the fact that she has, she has to like live a life that's different from like how she used to live, and
mm,
it ends with her like somberly coming to terms with it. But it's just more about like acceptance. Like there's a certain point where you just can't go back, and it's okay. It's okay. And that's one story that I have. But I feel like if I had to think of it in terms of like a passion or dream project, I really just want to make like a. It's almost like the film collective kind of style stuff, but it's like I realized that when I was teaching or when I'm teaching, I just really love the community aspects of
yeah,
like filmmaking and like
yeah,
creating stuff and like doing things. So I hope in like 1 to 3 years that I make something out of that. Like I hope that I can help develop something that
yeah,
unites more filmmakers together and can tell stories that typically aren't shared actively in
yeah,
like mainstream media. Um, and in ways that kind of like just help resonate. There are things we can tell stories, and sometimes they don't really hit the mark. We've talked about those kind of stories where it's like halfway through they derail, and it's like, what happened? This wasn't
yeah.
what
Or
this
like
was
there's
about.
like a scene where like you're totally taken out of it, and you're like, no, it was so good. Why
Yeah,
did they put that scene in it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it like muddies the message and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
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 just
yeah.
telling stories that resonate. And I think as a solo filmmaker, maybe I'm just underplaying myself, but I really feel underqualified as like a single filmmaker to be able to do that.
Mm.
But if we had a ton of filmmakers working on
Alex,
that,
you're in
then
the right place, like,
I know.
okay, like, I let me, like, clarify something for, like, you and, like, whoever's
Mhm,
watching, like, we're called the Film Collective, and sure, like, me, Trixie, and Adrian, like, we're founders. It's not just us, like, we're not
mhm,
trying it to be, like, a three-person show, like, it's all about us, like, that's it started out that way, not, like that wasn't the goal, but, like, it started with us, but, like, we
mhm,
are trying to get more and you don't have to be Filipino. It's cool if you are, but if you're not, cool. We don't care. Um, but we are trying to get more of a community base so that we can do more, even if it's just like a small thing, as you said, like we do scene recreations, but to eventually be able to like make if even if it starts out with just like original scenes to like maybe a
mhm,
short film, like and of course this is like in the making and it doesn't even have to be like, oh, I'm doing this through the film club. It's like no, like you met someone or like we all come together and we make something and like
mhm.
that's kind of like where we're trying to go and obviously covid has thrown a wrench into a lot of things but
Yeah,
like again I'm knocking on
yeah.
wood like we can do more like community stuff like Trixie's actually working on getting like actors together
Mhm.
and that's important like for instance like as a cinematographer
Yeah,
is like what do we
yeah.
shoot like we're gonna shoot like I can only shoot the sunset so many times
I know, right?
so like
You can only
I need
backlight
someone to
so many
stand in front of
times.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Who wants to stand in front of it?
Yeah. I can only take so many photos of my cats, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So know that like I think we'll get back to like old
Mhm.
SAS vibes.
Yeah.
Um, small scale, but like, we're more grown and wiser.
Mhm.
Obviously we still have a lot to learn, but I just like am
Yeah.
excited for I'm not even gonna say it's the possibility. Like we're gonna make this happen. Like
Mhm.
we're gonna be working and you know together, meeting other people who also want to do it. Because yeah, I think it's the cool thing about nowadays. It's like it is more accessible to just like shoot something and like just to make something too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
seriously.
yeah, build our
Yeah.
portfolios together.
Kind of in a way. Yeah, in a way.
Maybe one I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
And
work on, like, the funding thing when, like, we learn how to do that ourselves. But, yeah, like, it'll happen for sure.
I'll finally just bust open that piggy bank I've been saving since I was, like, 3 years old.
Oh my god.
I don't know how much money's in there, but it's literally sitting on my shelf still. I, like, every once in a while, I'll put in a new quarter. It's really heavy, but I don't know what's in it, honestly.
It'll
Last time
probably
I
cover, like,
yeah,
a few days of, like, crafty.
honestly, probably, like, 1 day of crafty at this point.
One day, true, because like,
Probably.
you want like, okay, anyone listening, like, if you're gonna splurge on anything, please splurge on crafty. Because like, not only did, like do I remember the people on set, I remember the food on set.
Yeah, get those veggie platters.
Yeah, and it was, like, bomb.
Yeah,
Um
feed your
Yeah, no,
crew
I
well.
think I think we kind of touched on it, and I'm gonna ask this question because Adrian actually asked me this question earlier in our writing session.
Mhm.
So, what would you define success as for you? And it doesn't even have to be solely filmmaking. Like, what does success look for like for you?
That's actually really hard because I've been, like, mulling over that for the past couple of months because I don't know what it is anymore.
Mm,
Um, I just genuinely have no idea. I think it's just so broad for me now that I found, like, little moments of success, but I feel like the idea of success for me has been changing from, like, an overarching goal to, like, a like, a series of smaller ones,
mm,
and I don't really know how that develops. I just really don't know how it's gonna develop as a result because I think a year ago, I would have said something like, "I wanna make something meaningful for myself,"
yeah.
and even that's very vague,
Mhm.
like, what does that mean? Like, what is
Yeah,
meaningful to me? I honestly don't know at some point. Like, I love human connection, but it's like, to what extent, Like, what am I looking for in that? And I'm like, "Nah," then I get, like, really overwhelmed, and I'm like, "I'll turn off the brain and, like, watch some, like, YouTube shorts or something." Um, but yeah, it's like I've been trying to find more of those smaller successes, I think, and it's like it could be
mhm.
something tangible, like maybe I want to involve my brother in something more, or like I want to like make something more out of like a film that my student is working on. Like I want to help them like build more of that confidence and like that repertoire to like make confident decisions themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe it is very people centered. I think that's where I'm at with it, at least as of right now. It's
Mm.
very broadly people centered, and I don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
I
I wish
like
I
that.
had an
No, I
answer.
think that's a great answer. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think earlier, like, I had to answer pretty quickly, and I think I'm still gonna like go
Mhm.
along with it. Like, I think success, at least for me, like just like me personally, it's like to be able to do what and it's gonna sound so cliche, but like what I love, like what I want to do for the
Mhm.
majority of like my day in, day out
Mhm.
without having like a major stressor like paying for rent or,
Mhm.
health or, or if it's just anything else, like not having to worry about like survival. Like that's not something that I worry about day to day.
Mhm.
And I'm not there yet. Maybe one day I'm working towards that.
Yeah.
And, you know, but yeah, like it is, and like when I say what I want to do, that doesn't just mean like make films day in day out. Like I want to
Mhm.
be able to like just go travel across the world with my family if I want to and not
Mhm.
worry about XYZ. Like that's what I envision as success. I don't need to be cool if I get an Academy Award, awesome. But like if I don't, it's
Yeah.
okay. Um
Mhm.
um but yeah, like I think that's where I'm at. But I do like, and I didn't. You kind of made me think about it too. Like for me too, like when I make, even if I make just like silly content on, I'm not gonna call it. Okay, I need to stop. Language is powerful. Language is powerful.
Yeah.
When I make content on YouTube, like I hope I just help somebody or like it
Mhm.
resonates with somebody, even if it's just like one person out of all the hundreds of videos I made. One person is affected positively by it. Like I think that's success too, because like I make videos.
Mhm.
Honestly, I make videos for like my younger self. So anyone who has felt the way that I've felt at some point, I just like want to know like you're on the right track. Like don't don't give up. Like this kind of comes full circle because if uh for you guys to know, like Alex actually awarded me filmmaker of the week back in our film club, and that's how we became friends because I
Yeah.
cried because I
'Cause you
was
cried. Sorry,
I
that's
was like,
why.
"Don't give up on your dream. I'm a senior and I changed my major to film." And then we became best friends because he thought it
Yeah.
was very endearing.
It straight up was just because, like, yeah, it was just very, like, genuine, I think. Like, the soul was there, and I think that's, like, what part of it would be. It's like, if the soul is there, that's what I like, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's what it was, and then, yeah, then 1 week later, I was just like, "Yeah, Dan, put her up there." And then I think
Yeah,
she cried
like,
again.
that's how,
I
like
think you
and,
cried
like, I
again.
honestly wasn't even planning to end this whole thing that way, but, like, it ended there, yeah, like, that's
Yeah.
how we that's how our friendship started, like, just a very human moment and and vulnerability, I think, and like
Mhm.
empathy too, like because like I look back at it, I don't regret crying in front of everybody, but like I'm like, oh my god, I was really vulnerable in front of strangers, like that's pretty. I'm
It
gonna
was
use
like
the word
40 of us
courageous,
too.
but
There was a
like
lot of
I'm
us.
just kind of like a little cringe, but like mostly courageous. But
Mhm.
also, I'm very thankful that you were the one to nominate me. Because what if it was someone else? Kidding. We wouldn't be here. Just kidding.
That's funny.
Um, but yeah, no, thank you for being our
Yeah.
first guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There's no one else I would have wanted my first guest to be because, like,
Oh.
truthfully, I'm like, I know what I'm doing most of the time. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I know you're not a big social media person, but is there anything else you want to plug or any last words? Any last words?
It's like I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, once the stream ends, I'm gone. No, but, uh, I guess it's not really plugging, but I am working on a pilot with one of my students. It'd be cool if we can get people involved in some way. I just don't have any details yet because it's gonna hopefully happen in July, but
Mhm.
he's been working on it for 2 years almost basically,
Oh,
like,
dang.
writing, and we're doing pre-production and everything, so we're really trying to crank it out. Um, there'll be casting calls, no crew calls, unfortunately, because we're doing it all, like, with our student base, but
Yeah,
it'd be great to see, like, some turnout, and it's a good way to, like, I feel like, get, like, really young filmmakers who also happen to have disabilities. Like, I don't wanna make it about that all the time, but
yeah.
they genuinely do have a disability, but they're very talented,
Mhm.
and I would really want them to succeed. I think that's what matters to me in that project is like really making sure that they get their foot forward in this industry, at least locally, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's called Jack Be Quick. It's about like it's a TV series eventually, but it's a pilot. It's about a con man who convinces this or I guess it's a con man who tries to bring along this couple. One is an artist. They're having like and like he's dating like a therapist. I think they're married. And they're just having a rough patch, so he kind of takes advantage of it and like
Oh,
tries to pawn off some stuff that they have and get them involved in these like series of crimes. It's like kind of silly. It's like a dark comedy kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's a really good script in my opinion. A really good first pilot, especially like it's his first time writing a
It
pilot.
sounds
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So hopefully we can get some stuff going on with that. But it'd be cool to like have people involved in the community with that kind of stuff.
So yeah, no, listen, well, we always try to repost casting calls or whatever people
Mhm.
need. Um, yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, well, we are at 7, well, it's 7:01. Um, thank you. First off, thank you, Alex, for being here.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone who was watching and whoever watches later. All right, we're gonna sign off now. Take care.
I